And we have many, many different countries here today. We have Serbia, we have Latvia, we have Italy, we have Portugal, we have Brazil. So we have many different countries, the UK, and then I'm in the US this week and this Friday. And so we're going to talk about mobile devices. Now, I know it's very different using mobile devices from in your language teaching classes. So my experience comes from teaching in Greece. So Marios is from Greece. I taught in Athens, so we did use cell phones in that setting with refugees. And so it's really, really fantastic that we got to use them with the refugees because all of them had their own cell phones. I've used them in Germany with adult students and also with young learners as young as 4 to 6 years old. So I've used mobile devices in various different settings and also in the U.S. with high school students. So I have a lot of experience with this. Most of the time, they brought their own devices. So that's what I was working with. No school has ever given me mobile devices to use with students. So they tend to bring in their own devices. And so I've asked parent permission and stuff. I have a different type of philosophy when it comes to learning. I think it needs to have movement and be adventurous. So I think that when you are integrating technology, that it's very important that students use the technology to do things they would usually do, like move around, because I think TPR, total physical response, and I think learning by kinesthetics, by movement, is really great for language. A lot of research has shown that when you use the language and you move around, that you actually remember a lot more in the brain than sitting down and doing worksheets. So my students, I found when they used mobile devices, they thought it was really fun. They thought it was exciting. And not only that, they learned English much faster. They were able to pick up things much faster. And I think one of the reasons is because it was real. It was really authentic. It related to their world. The great thing is when you show your students how to use a mobile device for learning, they get to take it home and then they can use it there for learning. A good example was when I was in Germany. My students would say, I shared with them different types of apps like vocabulary to look up vocabulary and stuff, phrases, things like that. And so what they would do is when they would get a phone call at work and they would say, oh no, I've got to use English with this phone call, they would look on the phone. And so that was kind of training for them. It was learner training. They no longer started emailing me because before they were using mobile devices, their own mobile device, they would email me and they'd say, oh, I had this phone call and what was the word? But it was better that they used it at the moment, that they saw the phrase and they could use it when they needed it. So that's just a little bit of an example. A textbook is not authentic. Yes, we can read things, we can see pictures, but it's not a real world surroundings. And for me, that's very important for learning. Students get to move with the technology, but they also get to use language that they really need in their situations, whether it's to go traveling, whether it's to answer phone calls at work, whether it's to conduct a meeting, whether I've met some of my young learners who their English, they just could soak it up because they're like sponges, and their parents would make them be the ones when they went on trips, they would have to be the translators. So even very young learners, it was important that they learned English for those kind of contexts. So I like it when it's outside. You use the mobile device outside. It could be anything. It could be an iPad, it could be an iPhone, it could be an iPod, a cell phone, just a regular cell phone, not a smartphone. So we can introduce them to real world learning and they can do lots of different things. But I think they also have to move around. I don't like when students sit in a desk all day. I think it's very unhealthy. So I like my students to get up and they move with the mobile devices. And that's what we're going to talk about today, like activities you can do where they get to move with the mobile device. So active learning on a mobile device promotes better classroom management. When your students move around, they act up a lot less because they get energy taken out. Kids have a lot of energy. Also, their attention span, usually depending, it's like 5 to 15 minutes if they're really interested in the topic. So if they move around and they get those breaks, they actually learn better with their brain, but they actually get to move around and they get to have their endorphins released and they're just in a better mood. It's continuous learning. They take it home. They can get very creative with it. promotes physical and mental well-being, real-world learning, and it's student-centered. It's very hard for you to kind of control the learning because they have it in their hands. So it's really great for them. So the features that come even in a regular cell phone is, one of the things is audio recording. So you can record conversations. You can record audio. A lot of you don't use the audio, but it's such a great way to, record interviews and also to record podcasts, so many things. And you don't need the internet to use the audio recording device. Regular cell phones come with this now. They have video recording. They have where you take photos. That's great for visualizing vocabulary, where you can take notes. And these things that I'm telling you so far, you don't need to have the mobile device connected to the internet. So if you, we've never, in a lot of the locations I've been at, we did a lot of activities where you didn't need the internet. We just used these kind of things. And I'll tell you a little about geolocation, texting, augmented reality, scanning, because some of those you do need the internet actually. So one of the first activities, let's get into the activities, is to give them tasks that use their senses to explore. So when you're thinking of tasks with a mobile device and you want them to get around and moving, then one of the things you can do is, for example, give them specific tasks. Take a picture of an animal that swims. So let's say you go on a field trip and you're at the aquarium, then you can give them tasks like this. It helps them understand commands. That's the grammar that we can teach them this way. You can have them come up with their own tasks, but it also helps them understand the vocabulary. If they were doing a worksheet and they circled an animal that swims, it's more effective if they actually go out and they take a picture of one. They can even do this through their book. Let's say you have a book of lots and lots of animals, or you have magazines of National Geographic, or all kinds of magazines with animals. They can still flip through that, use their mobile device. They don't have to go on a field trip and take a picture of that. But by taking a picture of an animal that swims, they'll never forget that. They'll be able to visualize the vocabulary versus just reading it on a book or just circling on a worksheet. You can have them record sounds. You can have them record sounds that they make, that certain animals make, or maybe the sound of wind, or you can relate this to any kind of theme. And then you can play guessing games where they listen to the sounds that they created or the ones that they recorded. Maybe they recorded something at home. Let's say you're teaching them vocabulary about kitchen appliances, and they take audio recordings of that kitchen appliance. They come to the classroom, they play it, and then everyone has to guess. Ooh, that sounds like a blender. Is that a blender? See, they're using the language in class, and it surrounds them. So it's much better than just reading it out of a vocabulary book, and it's very authentic. Enticing Places is another activity. What students do is they create a video encouraging their peers to visit their favorite places. So they'll stand in, for example, maybe they stand in front of the playground, and different types of, if you have a playground with the students, then they can each go to each one of their favorite, like swings or maybe climbing a rope, and then they can talk about that place. They can say, this is my favorite place. I love to be on the swings. It makes me feel like this. And so they record these kind of videos saying, go visit this area around the school. Or they can say places around their neighborhood. And this is one of the things they had the parents do with the kids. One of the things they would do is, I would say, in Germany you have lots of playgrounds and stuff. So I would say, will you work with your 6-year-old child and will you create a video on your mobile device, the parent using the mobile device, and talking about your favorite place around the city? And so they would go and they would talk about the favorite place. I did this with the adult students too. They loved it. This is a game called What Am I? So students capture different clues on their mobile device about their object. So they pick an object. So for example, maybe they pick a can. If they pick a can, soda or water, then they can record like a little picture of it, sort of like I have here. I have this picture right here. So that's one clue. Another clue could be the sound of it pouring, as it goes, like pouring. And then another could be another picture, or maybe they can do a video where they give clues, like oral clues as well. They can say, it's in a refrigerator. You find it in a refrigerator or something. And this all helps them learn language, but it also gets them moving around, taking pictures, interacting with that object. So it's very good for vocabulary. Then they swap the devices and they try to guess with the clues. Their friend guesses with the clues, listening to the video, the audio, watching the video, or looking at the picture and saying, oh, I think it's a soda can. And then they can play games, and they love that. This one's called Trace My Steps. Students capture audio, video, or picture clues on their mobile device that are steps that lead to a place where they were. So it's sort of like a real, kind of like a Google Maps. You know when you go on Google Maps and then you follow the little person around and you can see like everything around the person now? You can actually see where they're at. Well, it's sort of the same thing. They're taking pictures, but they're in a process. This is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And they also write text, walk 5 miles, or walk 20 steps. On your right, you will, and then, so it's an interactive type of treasure hunt in a way. So they test the steps, and you can add a prize. So once they get to a journey, when they find that place, then maybe they hide something there, like maybe they hide like a coin or a sticker or something. You give them something they can hide, so when they find the place, then they get a prize. So it kind of makes it something good. This is called Trash Talk. They actually go around the building, or they go around the school, and they take pictures of trash, and then they have to record a story where they pretend they're that piece of trash. So for example, if it was a discarded bottle and it was on the ground, then they would say, I am this bottle, the way that I came here. So they're making up stories. Is somebody was lazy and threw me on the ground, and now I'm here to rust. They can make different types of poems with it as well. So if you're teaching a type of poetry form, you can also say, make a poem in relation to how that piece of trash feels. Guess who I am? Students capture clues through audio, images, videos, and they describe their favorite food, place, or travel. So they don't say who they are. They're just collecting a bunch of clues. They're saying, my favorite color is blue. And then you swap devices. They don't know whose device they got, but they listen to all the clues. They see the pictures. Like here, you see someone's house and car. And then maybe over here, she's writing like, my favorite color is. And then over here, maybe he recorded him saying something like, my favorite animal is a shark, or something like that. And then what they do is they swap devices. They listen to these various multimedia clues, or they watch them, or they look at the pictures, and they say, oh, I think it's Susie. And so they run across the room and they say, is this you, Susie? And Susie can say, yes, that is me, or no, that is me. So they get to know each other as well. And they get to use all the skills. I really believe in using all the skills. For language learning, you have to listen to voices, and the voices they hear should have accents, because that's the English they're going to hear. The majority of people in the world that speak English are not native speakers. They're from other countries. And when they work with each other, a lot of times my students used to say, oh, it's very difficult to understand these accents. So it's good that they hear English from their peers, so that way they can begin developing clues and stuff on how to understand the language. So it's good they listen, it's good they speak, and so all of these activities have that incorporated, as well as the movement. At Mingle, so students get into pairs, and even young learners can, very young learners, I've used it with 4 to 6-year-olds, I've seen 2-year-olds, I've actually used it with a 2-year-old before, but it was 1-to-1, it wasn't a whole class of 2-year-olds. Although I have taught 2-year-olds. I just haven't taught a whole bunch of them with the mobile device yet. Each shows one minute of his or her favorite app. A lot of the apps that I learned about, like Talking Tom and all these other really cool apps that I found on the phone, and I'll show you one later, I learned from kids. So the kids, it's Mingle, you know, when you walk around, and then so they share their favorite app. They can say, even adults like this. Adults will do something more like a dictionary. They'll show their favorite dictionary app. And then when you blow the whistle, they have to switch, and then they tell somebody else about their app. So it's a great way to discover new cool apps that they use for learning and how they use the apps. But it's also a great way to get them to talk in English to each other, and maybe use some technical language as well to describe an app. Commercial success. Students are given a product such as like a pen. You can give them a pen, you can give them a nail filer, and then you say, this is a special product. This is just not a pen. This pen never runs out of ink. Or this pen, when you start writing with it, it speeds up your writing. So they have to come up with something that makes the product special, and you just give them the product. And then they have to come up with a commercial, like a television ad or a radio jingle, a radio ad, so they can use the voice or they can use the video, and they come up with commercials about these different types of products. Jigsaw readings, and that works for both levels. You can use that with adult students. I've used that lesson with adults, and they liked it and enjoyed it. I've used it with high school students, and I've even used it with learners around 10 years old. So these kind of lessons work for a variety of levels as well. Jigsaw readings, any type of reading you have, because we do have to do readings in class, what you can do is cut them up in lines and give each of the students one of the lines that they have to read. You can do it with paper, that's fine. Just give them a little paper strip, or maybe you want to give them a notepad, and then just give them that line. They're all scattered, so it's one paragraph. Let's say it's Shakespeare's sonnet or something. And then, so each one of them has a line, and then they have to record themselves saying that line with the right intonation. And they'll know because of you can teach them about exclamation marks and things like that. You can pre-teach intonation with it. And then what happens is you have them go around, and they piece all of this together, the whole recording, and then you make it into one recording. I'll show you some good apps for that later, but it's a great way to kind of understand a reading and learn it in chunks, learn the vocabulary in a difficult reading in chunks. Scavenger hunt. This is pretty easy. You just have the kids, they take pictures and clues, and they go on a scavenger hunt. I've done this with the worksheet, so I do both. Sometimes I mix paper with the actual device, and that helps when you have very, very few devices and lots of students. So I'll have a worksheet maybe that says, find something that's blue, find something that's, that feels rough, find something that feels soft, find something you think is beautiful. So they learn adjectives, they learn about the objects, the nouns. We go outside, they get to breathe in the fresh air, they get to move around, and then they take pictures of it. And then that's the way they turn in their scavenger hunt. Field observations. Students work in pairs, and with their devices, they observe something like a spider, maybe they observe a bug. A lot of kids love to look at bugs. They observe something outside because we're trying to get them to move with the mobile device. And then they take notes, images, and so forth on their mobile device so they can create a presentation, a blog post, or an article. I Spy. So does anyone want to guess what this object is? You can put it in the box. Anyone guess what this might be? So I Spy, and then they take a picture, a close-up picture, and then they take a far-away picture. And it could be whatever vocabulary theme that it is. So it could take a picture of something that represents math, science, or grammar concept. Represents something, for example, if you're talking about geometry and the different shapes, you can say, take a, I spy this decagon or something, and then or a hexagon, and then they take, this is a great way to learn about geometry shape. Okay, and this is really what it was. There you go. So Chris is kind of very close, a wagon wheel, and so Hannah Ziva too, a mini tire. So the kids have fun learning about it, and they also get to know about the object. If you put it with a theme, like maybe it's I spy in the kitchen, so you can teach that vocabulary. I spy in a restaurant. I spy. I mean, they can spy any kind of vocabulary theme, so you can associate it with the grammar concepts in your curriculum. So all of these can be molded to your curriculum. It's just a different dynamic way that they're more interested and they get involved with the vocabulary than just reading it from a book. Reporting the news. Basically, they stand outside and they say news that's going on at school. Today, Joe, our classmate, was at a soccer game and he scored the winning goal. So it's any news around the school or around the area. I'm going to give you a few helpful tips before we go with mobile devices. Plastic bags help maintain mobile devices. They make sure that they don't get very dirty. They make sure that you can still use it. You can still touch them. So put it in the mobile device in the plastic bag, and it helps with the student taking care of the mobile device. Now, if you're near water, you also have to put rice in it, so it doesn't, the condensation doesn't mess it up, is what I've heard as well. Pocket WavePad. There's not an audio recorder within the iPad, but if you download Pocket WavePad, that's really great. It's free, and it lets you do it in MP3, Wave, AVI, everything. It's like having audio Audacity on your iPad, and it's absolutely free. If you don't know what Audacity is, it's really great. It comes with different types of ways you can record sound, and then you can also edit the sound. I do this with conversations. When I teach one-to-one, we have conversations, we record them, I play them back, I pause them, and the student will tell me, this is where I messed up, or this is what I should have said instead. And so it's very good about reviewing conversations you have in role plays. Capsules. Capsules is a free type of app. It's really fantastic. I recommend it. You can add photos, videos, audio, text, and it becomes an interactive timeline. It looks like this. It's absolutely beautiful. So you can have the videos, PDFs, pictures, and it's just a big timeline, an interactive one. Every time they click on it, a big video or a worksheet or something comes up. Let's talk a little about mobile devices. If you have smart devices and you actually get the opportunity to teach with an iPad or an Android tablet or something like that, you can have really cool stuff like augmented reality. What is augmented reality? Well, augmented reality is when something, okay, so when you're looking at your real world environment, so whatever's in front of me now, I would see on my screen. And then it would have imaginary objects as well. So these aren't, it superimposes like different objects that aren't real. So for example, here you can see the tree. That's what he's looking at on the mobile device. And then there's little bugs. This was actually made from teachers. It's called the EcoBugs app. And what it does is the students, they have various lesson plans that you can use with that. But the student just basically goes and they go on this little marker, and the bugs come out. They have to name the bug. They create a story with the bug. They talk about the bug's heritage, what kind of special skills bugs have. So it's really a great way to get them reading, writing, listening, and using their creativity. Geolocation. You have to be careful with geolocation. Geolocation means that it takes your location. So your mobile device, when you're using them with students, you may want to turn this off. You want to make sure that if you download and you use an app, it'll say, can we take your location? Make sure you click that off. Make sure that on the settings it's off for kids, unless you get permission from the parents. But if you are able to locate, like it will pinpoint exactly where you are. Some people want to do that because you can use cool apps like Voices. Voices means you go to different tourist destinations. Like, for example, you go to a really nice sculpture in your city, and then the kids can leave audio recordings for everyone in the world to listen to that talks about that sculpture. So it's a great way to get students interacting with the world around them, and also sharing their recordings in English for others to use. And kids really like that when they get to help others. Geolocation, you can do geocaching. I've done this. I love it. It's absolutely free. People around the world hide little tiny prizes everywhere around the world. And so you go onto the geolocation, the geocaching site. It's geocaching.com. You just browse your city, and then you look up where it would be. It gives you a GPS location. You can print a map. You have a big class treasure hunt. This is one I found, and it's this small, and these were all the objects in it. Sometimes it takes you to crazy places. This is where we climb. This is my geolocation, my geocaching partner there. And so it's a lot of fun. The kids really enjoy it a lot as well. Scavenger. Scavenger is a free app that lets you create scavenger hunts all around the city and win prizes. You can win prizes from businesses as well. The geolocation app also allows you to do that. QR codes. Well, what's a QR code? A QR code is this. You've seen it a million times. This little black and white thing you see here. You see them everywhere. One of the things that I do with my students is to teach them about QR codes. It's scanning. You have to scan it. And this you have to use with internet an internet Wi-Fi connection. So you take a picture, you just scan the object, and then it comes up with something. It either comes with a website, a video, an audio recording. They're everywhere. So I have students actually bring QR codes they find from home, because if you look at, where is it, letters, or if you look at the magazine, or even on billboards, you'll see a QR code. So I say, students, take all these pictures of QR codes, and then we get together and we try to discover what these QR codes have. We just scan them in class, and then they present them. They say, oh, well, this is what I found, or this is what I found. And so it's a great way to introduce them to that. Kids can make their own QR codes, and that's what the great thing about it. If you use QR Ready, it's actually from a German company. You can scan QR codes, but you can also create them for free. And that's what I love about QR Ready. QRafter, you can only scan them. You can't create them. You have to do another app. So I really recommend QR Ready. There are other ones for Android and some other tablets. Just put QR code and you'll find a free one. So my good friend Russell Tarr has created this for students where they can create their own, and they make a treasure hunt. It's really easy. So you go to this website, classtools.net QR index. You just, in 4 steps, you can create them, and then you can have them put them around the school and have treasure hunt. And so it's a great lesson for kids. And for adults as well. You can do all of these with adults as well. So these are a few suggested apps that I recommend that are free. They're for different devices. So GeoBuckets for Android and everything. It's geocaching. You Are Here is geocaching. Mindblowing is an interactive mind map with it's on your mobile device, but it's only on i devices. Tom and Ben News Reporter. Animoto. Great news this week. Animoto is in your Android now. So Animoto comes in your Android, your iPhone, your iPad, just lots of different places. I'll have this up on SlideShare so you'll be able to see these apps later. Show Me, and Screenshot, Scavenger, Story Kid, Voice Start. All of these are free apps. Before I end, yes, I get very excited about technology, but I love good teaching better than I love technology. And good teaching is some of the things we talked about at the beginning, where you have students move, you have them interact with the real world, where they can take the learning that's inside their the vocabulary and stuff, and all the language and stuff that they just learn, and they can apply it to the world around them, because then they remember that cognitively. You store more information that way. It's better when you can connect, make these connections, visual, audio, and everything like that. So I think it's really great when I see great teachers do great things with mobile devices, that they just don't have them sit down with them and do another worksheet on the mobile device, because there's so much you can do. You can get out of your seat, take pictures and video and audio, and it's just really exciting, the stuff you can do with it, even offline. So I love this quote from Bill Gates. He says, technology is a tool, but in terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is the most important. So you are definitely the most important. If you need more information how to create an app, there are people creating apps and stuff. You can find all of these great resources and lesson ideas and everything here. You can even download my free book, which is the Mobile Learning Guide, 50 plus quick tips and resources. And it's been read, I think, viewed over 20,000 times, so I'm very excited about that. It has a QR code, but that no longer works, sorry. But you can go there and you can download, you can share this with your schools. I have lots of other mobile learning free ebooks as well, so if you need any help whatsoever. And then we have in here, we have Vinicius, and Vinicius has this fantastic blog that has specific different types of mobile learning for your students with teaching grammar points and things like that. So I would definitely recommend Vinicius' blog. Vinicius, can you post that again? There was another one that I also recently found. It's someone that's very new to Twitter. So I'm going to go ahead and try to find hers as well to give you. But she has a fantastic blog, and it's all related to ELT, and also not only ELT, but teaching in the class with iPads. So I would definitely recommend her blog as well. And this is Teresa's iPad and EFL through iPad. So these are a couple of ones that I recommend. Let me go ahead and get that for you. And then Vinicius is that as well. Field 3 Wade is also doing a lot with mobile devices, so he's definitely someone that I would recommend to follow as well, as far as somebody that does something with mobile devices. So let me get you Teresa's. This is Teresa's. This is mobile iPad devices, but if you do iPad, the thing is you can always apply it to other mobile devices as well. Something that, you know, a lot of the activities, unless they're specifically some kind of activity that requires a certain app, but the majority of them can all be done in the same different types of mobile device. Like I said, I know a lot of you don't have technology in your class. I didn't either. We were in Athens and we were teaching for my CELTA, and we just one day, as they said, will you take out your cell phones? We're going to have you text the pretend text, just type out vocabulary that we're learning today. And so all of them except one person had a cell phone. And so they were able to share with each other. I've done this with people of 800 in Brazil, and people have cell phones. It's considered a staple. It's considered something that's really important for living these days. So I think you can definitely, if you get permission from parents and stuff, you can definitely say, hey, would you like to go ahead and would you like to every Friday I would like to have a mobile device lesson. Would you allow your child to use the mobile device? I promise I will take them off. I promise they won't be texting. And you just collect them at the beginning of the class. So these are ways that you can use mobile device and get your students learning year-round. Anybody have any questions or any other great different types of activities they recommend or anything? Thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you